everybody doing good? I'm Cindy, and I have a giant pillow because Kayla made me feel like I should have one. Yeah. Hey. Hi. Love you.
Travis, I'm trying to figure out whether my legs should go
And all the
inside
men
or
said.
outside of this chair right now. I think inside. I think we're
Put
good.
it wherever you want.
I'm okay. We'll make it.
Oh my goodness.
I told you I was going to fidget.
Doing great. Okay, so we are here tonight. We are going to talk about steadfast devotion, like a love that stands firm. So I'm Cindy. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus. I struggle with grief, with life, and with all of the HDs that you can possibly imagine. So, like, hang in there with us. Who are you?
Hey, I'm Kayla. And I love Jesus, but I also struggle with people pleasing and codependency and grief mostly.
I'm Travis, and I'm a grateful believer in Jesus. And almost 12 years ago, he instantaneously and miraculously healed me from what was going to be a fatal alcohol addiction. But he didn't leave me there. He kept working. And right now, I struggle with my past.
So you guys probably see Kayla and I like a lot around here, but what you don't know is that might not know. You may know this, but you may not know this. But when we were doing Oasis, Travis was one of our leaders back there. So he was back there with our teenagers, loving on them, teaching them. So I've talked a little bit about steadfast devotion before you lost the pillow.
I'm done.
We're done with the pillows. The pillows are done.
Okay.
So, like I've talked about this stuff before, and I usually you think of steadfast. Y'all, what do y'all think? What's steadfast? Like unmovable, unshakable, like firm, and so through anything. And so, like, I would normally think of, like, the story of, like, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, like, an Old Testament, like, the even if, like, I'm not going to bow. And that's great. But tonight, we're going to talk about two verses in John and in 1 Peter. And so, y'all know the story, like, and obviously, this is not, like, Bible study. So, like, hang in there with us for a second. We're going to get into, like, a panel thing. But I just kind of want y'all to have, like, a basis of what we're kind of thinking about, right? So in John, when Jesus asks Peter 3 times if he loves him. And then in 1 Peter, when Peter says, resist him, steadfast in the faith. So we're going to remain steadfast in our faith, and we're going to kind of talk about, like, what that means. So, you know, in recovery, a lot of times we have really strong feelings, right? Like, we feel a lot of feels. And sometimes that's because there's been a long time since we've felt. And so, like, we got to feel all the feels because we haven't felt in a while. So sometimes we have, like, a fear of losing everything, or we have, like, the grief of losing someone, maybe just one person that, like, rocked our world. Or we may have, like, shame over something that we've done, or maybe we've got shame for something that we didn't do, that we missed out on, and we wish that we had been able to do or had, like, taken the step to do. And sometimes we have, like, a determination to change, but then also sometimes maybe we have, like we're holding on to every single thing because everything around us is changing so quickly, and so we're trying to hold on to those things and, like, maintain normalcy. But one of the things that we want to make sure that y'all understand tonight is that feelings fluctuate. Sometimes, like, we feel like something is one way 1 second, and the very next second, that same thing that we felt like was an absolute doesn't feel that way anymore, because feelings, they fade. But the one thing that stands firm is love. And all throughout the New Testament, Jesus tells us that, like, love is the most important thing. And so that's what we're going to kind of talk about tonight. So the first question that we're going to talk about in our little steadfast session tonight is I know both of y'all very well, so I know that both of you have walked through difficulty. So when you look back, have you ever had a denial moment like Peter did when maybe your actions didn't match what you said your devotion was or felt like your devotion was?
I'm ready.
He said, I'm ready.
I think that in the initial stages of being sober, I think the denial that I was experiencing at that time was, okay, now I'm not drinking, so everything's okay. Yeah. And so because of that, I wasn't really looking into the deeper issues of what actually caused the whole thing to be happening in the first place. So I spent years just kind of pretending like everything was okay because it was supposed to be okay because I don't drink anymore, so that was the problem. And when I really wasn't dealing with the roots of the problem.
For me, if I had to talk about the people-pleasing side of things, like I knew that it was an issue that I was struggling with, that I was dealing with, but then I would go through times where I would think, but it really only affects me, and like it just means that I have more friends and more people like me because I say yes to everything, and like I don't have to set boundaries and I don't have to say the hard no, and like surely it's not that bad and I can just live with it because it's not affecting anyone else. So
That's really good, yeah. Okay, so when we reflect back to our verses, one thing that that's really good example. So thank y'all so much for being willing to share that. And Kayla pointed out some things. So the attack is real, and the enemy definitely can lie to us and make us feel like we're the only person who's being affected, or maybe brings up old triggers or shame spirals. So we feel a little bit of shame, and then somebody says something and we're like, oh my gosh, they know everything, and so we start kind of spiraling out of control a little bit, and that makes us want to do things like self-sabotage, or it makes us want to isolate or have I'll never change. I can't get through this, kind of feeling. So what lies do you feel like have been lied to you to convince you that something about your identity or your future wasn't going to be the way that God intended for you? This is not a new question. I sent these to them.
So I think the biggest lie that affected me throughout, well, still, is that I'm supposed to be a certain way for people.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest, kind of talking about what you were talking about. It's I'm supposed to be however you want me to be to make you like me, and that's not living by truth. So there were years there where I was so desperate, like I said, to prove that everything was okay, that I was just trying to be liked by everybody. And I lost focus on my own identity. Yeah. And that's kind of the process in the later stages of my recovery, is because of those years, it's okay, who am I now? And how to make it so that identity is weighted in God's truths.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good.
Oh, okay, my turn. I think what I thought of when I read that question was that I would never, the lie that has been told to me or that I believed was that I would never be to the level of perfection that I needed to be at to do XYZ, whatever the Lord called me to do. Never be obedient enough, never be strong enough, never know enough of the word, never pray long enough, all the things that I would never be to that level. I can keep trying, but I'm never going to make it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that makes sense. I mean, I think that is that's how I feel a lot too. And so, you know, if we reflect back to our verses, Jesus asked Peter 3 times, "Do you love me?" So he didn't say like, "Why did you fail me?" or like, "Why, you know, why aren't you more perfect?" He said, "Do you love me?" So if you kind of weigh like your feelings versus what Jesus actually says, like how do you do that practically? Because we're talking about how we're going to stay steadfast in the faith, right? Like how we're going to remain faithful and remain in love with Jesus. And so what practical things do you guys do that kind of grounds you and helps you like stay firm in the faith?
I think realizing that emotions are temporary and based on the situation that you're in currently. Emotions can play tricks on us, but fruits of the Spirit are an expression of the steadfastness that you're talking about, of walking by faith, taking your time, doing it slowly, learning more about Jesus, and you aren't so blown by the waves when it comes to emotions affecting you and wanting to kind of act on an emotion. You have a minute to kind of step back and grow fruit.
I have a really, really good friend. His name is Brad Watson. And he told me one time that I needed to just step back and look at the facts. So whatever the situation is, I don't need to make up all of these scenarios in my head of what the other person is thinking, how they're feeling. Like, I just need to sit back, look at all the facts of the situation. And that can even be applied to the word that we're talking about tonight. Like, the word is fact. And so if the word doesn't say you're never good enough or you have to be perfect or whatever it is, like, those are not things that I need to be dwelling on because they're not facts.
Yeah. Yep. So Jesus said, "Do you love me?" and not, "Are you perfect?" Amen. So how have y'all learned the difference between like loving Jesus and performing for him?
Work in progress.
Amen.
I think I'm not going to speak for a whole group, but I gravitate towards performance and have to kind of draw myself back towards walking with him. Yeah. I think that's a daily thing that you just it's just a matter of the relationship that you have with him. Yeah. And realizing that he's just wanting you to be still. And he never says to try and do a million things to earn his love. He gives it freely. But he wants us. Like that's all he wants. He just wants us.
Yeah. What do you think happens like if you are performing and you don't recognize that? Like, do you think that makes a difference? That question makes sense.
Yeah, totally. You run dry. Yeah. You know, if you're constantly trying to put something out from a place that's not being filled, you're going to be empty when it's over. You're going to be emotionally depleted. And so when you're constantly, especially like that's where like it's always anytime you're in, it's like read your Bible, get into the Word. It's like no, that fills you back up, so that you're not pouring from an empty cup. And that's that performance mentality. I mean, that's the enemy's trick right there. He'd just rather exhaust you, and make you run dry, and make you useless. Where if you're filled and you're pouring from that, I mean, you're pouring living water. So.
I don't know what it was. Yeah, so the question was, when Jesus asked Peter, "Do you love me?" He didn't ask, why am I reading this?
You can. I just asked her to read the question to me again. Okay. How have you learned the difference in loving Jesus or performing for him? So I would say it's actually helped me a lot with this by having a kid, because I don't ever expect perfection from him. And I do expect him to do his best. And I love him very much. And I expect him to love me back. But I do not expect perfection from him. And if he makes a mistake, I do not shove it down his throat or get really mad. I mean, I may be aggravated for a minute or whatever, but it's never like, oh my goodness, you're worth nothing. Like, I can't believe you did that, and I'm just going to toss you away. Like, no, I love him. I love him very much, and it's just a teaching moment. And so I think that the Lord does that with us. Like, he knows we're going to mess up, but he loves us so much, and he's just going to turn it around to be a teaching moment, and next time we'll have the opportunity to do better. So,
yeah, when I think about performance, like, I had something happen today. So I was at the shop, and Clayton was telling us about his granddaughter, and he was saying that she like had this competition this weekend, and after it she came running out, and she was like, "My feet are killing me. Will you hold me?" And he looked down, and she had her shoes on the wrong feet. And like, how many times, like, in my life, I can think of so many times that I was performing, you know, doing something like so that someone else would be pleased. And like, I might as well have had my shoes on the wrong feet. Like, I was just exhausting myself, and God never asked me to do that. So how do you guys stay devoted on days when you don't feel spiritual or you don't feel motivated or strong?
I think there are elements of it that require discipline.
Yeah.
There's times where, like what in the last question that I answered, where it's like I've learned through seasons that if I don't, I'm going to be in big trouble. Yeah. And so, like I said, God, Jesus wants us to co-labor with him. It's a joint effort. And there are times where you have to put in that work. It's not just you're going to wake up and because you follow Jesus, you know, you're going to miraculously want to do your devotional every morning. Right. There's times where you got to, you know, he's going to want you to make something too. He's going to want you to build because he wants to make you better.
Yeah. Okay, that's okay. Okay, so Peter tells us that we're supposed to resist the enemy. So what does resistance look like for you guys today, like in practical, everyday terms? Like, how do you resist pleasing others when it's not convenient for you, Kayla?
I say no to everyone. I'm just kidding.
No, she doesn't. She's sitting up here for a reason.
Boundaries. Just kidding. I do have to have a lot of conversations with myself in my own head, or I will get carried away so far away. So I think that's probably the main thing, is just like, I'll go back to just knowing what the word says about who I am as a child of God, and then just sometimes literally having to recite those things to myself, or take a few deep breaths and just like be quiet for a minute and just hang on. Don't run away with this in your head. Like, it's all good.
Yeah. You got anything?
Say it one more time. You don't have to say it in the microphone if you don't.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What does resistance look like for you today in practical, everyday terms?
I think one of the things that I've been trying to do for the last several years is really trying to, in my quiet time, in the times where I'm trying to be still, is learn to hear the voice of Jesus and the voice of the Holy Spirit, the voice of the Father. Mm-hmm. And those, those thoughts that we have that are trying to infiltrate our mind constantly, being able to, I guess, use the shield, to extinguish the darts. Because when you learn to hear the voice of God, the voice of Jesus, he's never going to say something to you that is going to make you feel something that's not a fruit. So you can learn to distinguish, like, okay, and there's sometimes I'll flat out do that. I'll be like, Holy Spirit, is this you? No, wait. Okay, nothing. No, okay, I'm going to move on because I should probably just move on for this because it's just making me feel anxiety. Yeah. So I think that's the most important thing for me in regards to fighting is taking time to, Jesus wants to talk to us. Yeah. Like he will talk. He's funny sometimes too.
That made me think of that song like that. The voice of truth tells me a different story.
Yeah, for sure.
That's exactly right.
Okay, so what about community? Like, has community and having community helped you guys stay steadfast instead of maybe slipping quietly or like maybe quickly or carefully backing out of the door?
That was the biggest trap for me kind of in the middle of this journey that I've been on is isolation. Yeah. Like extreme isolation. Yeah. And realizing what that can do to your mentality. It's like I'm not the most social of butterflies, but I know that I can't do it on my own. So the importance of being in community is, it's a weapon that we have. Yeah. And it's because of that, it's also something that when you're struggling, it's one of the first things the enemy is going to try and do. He's going to get you alone. You're easier to hunt when you're isolated and by yourself. So, community is very important.
I would say community is great for accountability. And then I think maybe it's a way that like my people pleasing had a positive spin on it. Because then in things that I've gone through and even recently, like I don't want to isolate because everyone's going to know it and everyone's expecting me to be there and like so I can't isolate. There are no secrets and there's no way that I can like pull back into myself and hide out and all that stuff because all these people are going to be disappointed, right? So I think it like puts a positive spin on it.
We're not going to be disappointed. But I do text you and I do ask very in-depth questions. Okay, so have there been seasons when your devotion drifted during this process? Like maybe it wasn't as steadfast as what you wanted it to be?
Yes.
And how did you come back?
Jesus will bring you back. And usually when he has to bring you back, it's not as pleasant than if you just come back yourself.
Okay, so when Jesus restored Peter, he gave him prompts, right? He said, do you love me? And he said, yes. He said, well, then feed my sheep. So feed my sheep, feed my lambs, feed my sheep. So how has serving others, I don't know what I'm doing with my hand. How has serving others strengthened your own recovery? Has it? Helping others helped you?
Yeah, I think especially going through, I guess in all of the processes, but especially going through the grief process, I think serving others has helped a lot as far as if it's just talking to someone, like someone else that lost someone special to them, and I can just kind of share in that grief and share scriptures with them, pray with them, And somehow the Lord always uses that to like bring something to light in my own life and in my own process. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I was trying not to answer questions myself, but I'm gonna put in a little bit into that. When I started the the most difficult grief journey that I've been on, people would give me advice a lot of times, and they would say things like, "Dave wouldn't want you to be sad," and stuff. I think I told you this, and I kind of very emotionally one day answered someone back and said, "Well, I don't want him to be dead, so I guess we're even." And like it just, it's so much easier for me like to not respond that way when I have other people that I know are grieving and I have the ability to like share with them. Like not everybody is going to say smart stuff to you. Like some of the stuff that people help you with is really dumb, and but they're trying to help you, and it's not done out of anything other than love for you and wanting you to be, in a better place or whatever. And so, it's a journey like all of recovery, being grieved and grieving. There's a whole like book of the Bible that is devoted directly to it. And so when you start looking for things that can help others, like for me, I don't know about you, but when I started looking for things that could help other people, it helped me more than I could probably ever help someone else. Like I was able to understand how I was responding to things and why I was responding the way that I was, because there's a lot going on. Okay, so if Jesus asked you today, "Do you love me?" how would your recovery journey answer that question?
This is the one I told you that I did the little teary emoji when you sent this one. Now you get that's why you're looking at me like that, huh? Yeah. Um, the kind of end result, the kind of turning point in that story when I finally found that community and um, started truly following Jesus was he required total surrender. And I said, okay. And I'm here in Jonesboro, Arkansas. I couldn't have pointed out Jonesboro, Arkansas on a map 5 years ago if you would have asked me.
Travis is from California.
Yeah, I'm losing my accent apparently because no one ever calls me out on being from California anymore. But because of that choice, through everything since we've been out here, he's sanctifying me still. And through all the struggles and the grief and the changes and the seasons of being without a job, and he's shown up in every single circumstance. And so, yes, my recovery journey is showing that I love him, but more than that, it shows how much he loves me.
Okay. Well, wow. I don't even know how I say anything. That was really good, Travis. Really good. Um, um, so to sum up, I think that was so good, Travis. Like it really was.
That was
Like
100% Holy
I,
Spirit because I don't even know what I said.
oh well,
Thank Jesus.
I want to sum it up for you. I want to tell you what you said. Um, so with Jesus and Peter, Jesus didn't ask him, "Are you sorry?" He didn't say, "Are you embarrassed?" He didn't say, "Are you afraid?" Like all of those things that sometimes we can put inside our head and we can think like Travis, Jesus has never said, "Are you afraid?" he said, don't be afraid, right? He didn't say, are you embarrassed, like, about what you've done? He said, do you love me, to Peter? And he says that to us, do you love me? But he also says, because I love you.
Right.
And, our recovery, I think, like, as we're moving through recovery, because I don't know about y'all, but like Jeff commonly says, like, it doesn't end, but it thrives when our love for Christ becomes stronger than our love for escape of any kind.
Yeah,
So when
100%.
we can start to love him the most, that's when we'll remain steadfast. We are pretty much done. I just want to add a couple more things. So Kayla talked about having a kid. Don't do that quickly. Have a husband.
Yes.
Have a love for each other. Then have a kid. And I think that this, we are talking mainly tonight about steadfast devotion to God, obviously, because he is number one, right? Like, he's the one that we have to love the most. He comes absolutely first. But it is also very, very important that when we are in a relationship, that we have steadfast devotion to that person. So today is my 19th year anniversary to that guy. So everybody tell Reggie happy anniversary, because it's all of our anniversary. Thank you guys for letting us share with y'all tonight.
Yes.